Hi, how are you doing? This is Nightfall 19, an issue of Batman comic where Bruce Wayne is barely present while Azrael, who's taken up his mantle, tries his best to be Batman. Both Nightwing and Team Drake are skeptical of Azrael because let's be honest, Batman is a hard role to live up to. We all know Batman is a hero, but what it is that makes him so good? Why is the audience so critical of any actor or filmmaker who takes up the responsibility to make a Batman adaptation? Today we won't go deep. We won't analyze or break down or deconstruct Batman. We won't talk about how Batman is a figure of darkness, he looks scary but is still a good guy, is a metaphor of shadow, not only the character he was inspired by but also our shadow self. Batman is our subconscious fully realized and utilized for a benevolent goal. No, we won't talk about how the parents dying young is a curse and a boon as it destroys any possibility of an edible parent. No, today you, us, we will talk about something most filmmakers, most storytellers and especially companies forget. Something hopefully James Gunn will not forget while creating the DCU. And that is Batman's humanity. Batman's humanity is an aspect that's forgotten by a lot of stories. We see this all time where filmmakers, storytellers and fans vouching and campaigning for a darker version. But is Batman unkind or cruel? No. Not at all. But of course, not all beautiful artistic works stem from something benevolent. It can be argued that greatest works of literature, of art, stem from darkness. And of course, darkness has many forms. And of course, this fundamentally comes down to this. The Comic Code Authority was established in 1954. Dr. Frederick Wortham's book, Seduction of the Innocent, accused all comics of promoting delinquency. He said, I think Hitler was a beginner compared to the comic book industry. Imagine comparing superheroes to Adolf Hitler. Very out of touch, we know. It's a similar claim to video games cause violence. He targeted horror comics and superhero stories for containing subversive messages encouraging crime, violence, loose sexual morals, anarchy, homosexuality and a confusion of gender roles. So the Comics Code Authority prevented all that. No superhero can kill and no LGBTQ+ superheroes, which is very ironic because the best adaptation of Batman is voiced by Kevin Conroy, who is gay. Gotham is not a villain though, and understanding that he isn't is key to understanding Batman in a way. He treated poor black patients at his clinic at a time when no one would, and his findings helped overturn multiple segregation statutes. And in his later years, Wortham would support comic books, but he had always been out of touch. Wortham is a villain in comic book communities and he didn't understand how art and media affects anyone, but he also did some good things. He was a man from a different time who didn't understand certain things. Out of the censorship of the CCA, artists and writers would write gems of stories. Stories like Death in the Family. Without the censorship, we wouldn't have Red Hood. Remember the comic book at the beginning? In that issue, the focal point is, will Azrael kill Bane? That is the standard that anyone donning the cape and the cowl is held up to. Out of that censorship would come this story idea. Batman doesn't want to kill, but he is put in situations where most would kill and justify it. That is great storytelling. That is conflict, both physical and emotional, and it increases our respect and love for Batman where he solves everything in a believable human manner. And this is something the most filmmakers, most storytellers surprisingly do not get. That a hero, no matter how dark, how grim or brooding, is first and foremost a soldier of light. The first Batman movie of 1989, Batman kills people. Then in Batman Forever, he tricks Two-Face into falling to his death. In the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman either leaves someone to die or indirectly kills someone, but at least no killing is a major plot point. So hey, improvement. In the Zack Snyder movies, less said about that the better. And all of this, Keaton, Bale and Affleck are considered to be the best cinematic adaptations of Batman. Yet all of them fundamentally break Batman's one rule. Batman is a shoulder to cry on for Baby Doll. He brings food for Solomon Grundy. He's there when Ace is about to die. And this is why Batman is hard to live up to. When Mr. Freeze fought Batman, Batman understood above all else why anyone would do what Freeze did. Batman's help is not limited to the people he agrees with, but to everyone, most reprehensible of all humans. Every now and then we see a comment in some post or a YouTube video talking about how killing the Joker or killing one guy will save thousands. The blame of that sentiment lies somewhat on the audience, but it also lies on the writers of this. If a character is compassionate and empathetic, that should be rewarded in some way. We feel like that doesn't often happen in Batman stories. When Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood shows mercy to Darius and Hinkel, they become allies. So does Scar. When Josuke from Jojo no Kimi no Boken, famously known as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, doesn't kill Yuya or Kobayashi, they become his allies. In fact, that's how he becomes best friend with Okuyasu. Sure, Gotham is full of utterly irredeemable criminals, but Batman's efforts should redeem at least some of them, and maybe there is hope. We have seen Harley Quinn redeem herself, and of course, there is Catwoman. Why would the audience believe that Batman's no-killing rule works at all? But does it work? Maybe yes. Maybe Batman's no-killing rule works. If Gotham is a sinking ship, then killing criminals is just adding more holes to it. Killing a criminal is a cheap way out. Having no hope that he can never be redeemed, and once you accept that, that idea is enforced on everyone. It's the fact that Batman sees the light of redemption in everyone, even when no one else does, is what makes him a hero. The killing one to save thousands is just a justification lumped on someone we have put in a monster box so that we can be done with the problem. It isn't a solution. It's to bring catharsis to our own problems, that maybe if I blame this one villain for everything, all our problems will be solved. But that is what's always been wrong, right? Every oppressive regime, every totalitarian state, or anyone with a propaganda blames everything that's wrong on this one community or a person that they all collectively dislike, and they believe once that community or the person is taken out, things will be solved. Batman doesn't do that. It's easy to kill. Batman doesn't take the path. Batman isn't out for revenge. He doesn't want to kill a Joe Chill. He wants to make a world where there isn't a Joe Chill. And in that way, Batman isn't in the shadow of his grief. He isn't in the shadow of his pain. He has outgrown it. Sure, he lost his parent and that was the worst day of his life, but he chose to make something better out of it by helping people every day as Batman. There's a very underrated aspect of the Arkham video games: the dialogues. Whenever Batman is talking to civilians, first responders, medics, policemen, guards, or patients, they are not scared of him. This is something that's touched upon at the end of Batman, the 2022 movie, where people go from being scared of him to being comfortable when the Batman is around. Batman's darkness isn't scary but comforting. When you feel overwhelmed by the world and you feel claustrophobic, when you go to sleep at night and you turn your lights off to comfort your eyes, Batman is that darkness, a confirmation that you will be safe, that you can rest now. Batman has hope even for the most hopeless of times and hopeless people. Too many times in life we have been hopeless, called hopeless. We have thought it's all over. We have all thought and heard that we will amount to nothing. Batman is that unwavering belief that we can, that if we hold on just long enough, all of us can. And it isn't just Batman, a mother taking care of a child, going an extra mile just to make sure her baby is okay, a firefighter making sure everyone is okay, people being kind and helpful to others when they don't have to, and helpful to others when they don't have to, when they can just help themselves. That is us. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, Wonder Woman. This truth is lost in a jumble of movies, comics and TV shows, but these characters are us and our strength personified with a cape. We will never have a Batman, but we will always have honest, good policemen patrolling to keep us safe. Soldiers in extreme conditions fighting for us. We will never have a Superman to save our cat, but we have seen kindly people do it all the time. We will never see a Spider-Man lift rubble to save a victim, but medics and firefighters do it all the time. Batman knows his mission is impossible. He can't save everyone. He can't redeem the likes of Joker. He can't end crime. It's a fantasized fictional reality full of idealism, but he is always chasing the perfect idea. The dream of a perfect world where no one loses a loved one and never ever giving that up, and while doing so, he saves a lot of people, inspires us to be like him.
He's the only one who's actually not a superhero. There's nothing supernatural about Batman. You know what I mean? He can't fly, he can't see through walls. He's a man. He's a human being. He's more like a detective. Some people actually call him the great detective. But not only is he human, he's a very flawed human, and he knows he's flawed. He's been damaged by life. But Kevin, we're all flawed, right? And we all get damaged by life. So it makes Batman that much more relatable because he's so much like us in a way. What distinguishes him is that no matter what life throws at him, no matter what crisis or challenge or failure, he never lets it crush him. He never lets it make him angry or bitter. He takes that pain that life throws at him and he turns it into something positive. And he gives it back to the world as love. Because his whole mission is to leave the world better than he found it. And it's the nobility of that mission. That's what we admire so much about him. But that's something we can all aspire to in our lives. You don't have to have superpowers to want to give to the people in your life, to want to leave the world a better place. All you have to do is care enough to try.